Hey, good morning. This is Assembly Member Al Taylor, and I'm checking out my man DJ Elf. Y'all check it out.
Are you ready?
Yo, what's up? Check it out, DGL7. As you know, I'm interviewing cats from all over the country for my Unified Platform project, and actually, I'm quite excited about this candidate. He's pretty qualified politically, and he's actually in a kind of a third party-ish space, right? He's actually Republican like myself, though, which is pretty cool. He's standing up to the establishment politicians. Anyways, he has a good set of qualifications. I'll let him speak for himself. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is Paul Romero. I'm running for governor here in Oregon. I'm currently registered as a Republican for this primary. I'm a 10-year Navy veteran. As a cryptologic technician, high security clearance, all that good stuff. I have a degree in workforce education and development, basically all but a double major in mechanical engineering and mathematics. And I perform about 3 different jobs right now. One, I'm a CEO for a company called You Walk Today. I'm also Northwest Marketing Director for a company called Go To You. And I also do substitute teaching, usually Monday through Thursday. And I really rather enjoy that, actually. I teach everything from pre-K up to 12th grade. So
Okay, that's cool.
what's the point of learning a whole lot of stuff and know a lot of stuff if you can't share it and pass it on, right?
What made you decide to run specifically? I know you've run before.
Well, I'd been attending a group that was trying to get people to run for office because we kept having the same politician types, people that really weren't set to fix anything. Okay. And they're trying to talk someone into running for Congressional District 2 out of Central Oregon. And I was talking with one of my mentors. I said, yeah, we got to get somebody to step up and run. He goes, PJ, you should run. And I was like, no, sorry, I'm not a politician. He said, that's why you should run. And it got me thinking, and I thought, okay, I got the intellect, I got the ability, and I've met plenty of Congress people at the time through my military career that, to be quite frank, really shocked me. I expected great intelligence, and I didn't find great intelligence. I know there are a few in there, but for the majority, no. And then this go around, my grandson Thomas was born November 7th this month, the last month, and it's just putting more of a fire in me to get in there and do something good for the state and pull it back from the brink and make it a place worth him growing up in, and not only being able to go to school and get a good education, but to also be able to stay in Oregon and have a good job. So I got some serious personal motivations as well as just general for the population. I want to stay here in Oregon. I want to live here the rest of my life. And I can't very well do that if they keep driving it into the ground. So
That's a good reason to run for office. I appreciate that. So the thing is that we see that in today's in New York recently a socialist won named Zoran Mandani. Now, sometimes people claim certain political ideologies. It doesn't have to be as like socialist, capitalist. It could also be like conservative, or it doesn't have to be on like kind of economic framework. Or it could be other things, right? Do you have any particular? I know like people are more than their ideologies, but do you claim any particular political ideologies?
well, I mean, one of the things is we all should be standing on the Constitution, period. And as long as you go with the Constitution and apply it equally to everybody, you're safe. You're good to go. Nobody really can legitimately complain. And for me, I don't know if you've ever taken one of those tests where it shows you where you are in the scale of liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, whatever. It asks all these questions, very detailed. And for me, I always come out just a little bit right of center. And I was at first worried about that. I thought, whoa, wait a minute. I thought I was more, being more constitutionalist is more to the right. Well, no. Being standing on the Constitution is center. That's where you start. And then from everything else you do, you venture out from there. So fundamentally, we all should be constitutionalists here in America. If you're an American, you should be a constitutionalist. If you're not, if you're a socialist, if you're a communist, a Marxist, or an anarchist, get out of my country. Okay, you take that back to where you came from. where you apparently didn't like it, don't bring it here. you know, um,
Interesting. Okay.
just a very straightforward. We don't pull any punches here.
Okay. Good to know. So the thing is that you said a couple things that were interesting to me before. Also, one of the things that you said before was that you said your constitutionalist, and I believe that you actually ran with the Constitution Party. So
Yes.
that was pretty cool. Here in New York City, I think that there's a similar thing going on, but we have something called the Conservative Party, which
Mhm.
is actually, you said about some rhinos that are kind of Republican in name only, that are kind of like running things, and that does tend to happen, especially in either Democrat-controlled areas or areas that are kind of more evenly split. You will have, some of that type of stuff going on. Also, you said earlier that you were talking with someone who was in your district. So, have you ever heard of something called county committee, or have you ever been involved with more local organizing?
Just with the Republican Party as a PCP. I am a precinct committee person, and I'm dying to get back to paper ballots. By the way, uh, we
Okay.
need to have a good accountability of that. But fundamentally, no, it's just a matter of being in the public, living life, surviving it,
Okay.
understanding what we all have to deal with. And what shocks me the most is that uh, Democrats traditionally are very loyal. They are loyal to a fault, which is kind of admirable if you think about it, right? However, if the people actually running your party are not truly Democrats, okay, they're acting above and beyond or outside of that, well, then you got to kind of shift gears and cast your vote somewhere else. But as you know, it's sometimes very difficult to know who a person is that's actually running for office. I deal with politicians to the point that they talk so much fluff, they say the same thing over and over again, they say nothing. And there's a lot of people go, well, that sounded intelligent. But the fact was, no, they just fed you a bunch of fluff and you didn't quite understand that they were shooting right past you. They weren't really answering any question. So
Okay.
for me, I love warning people behind backstage saying, "Hey, I'm going to chew all of you up and spit you on the ground. Have a nice day. By the way, I suggest you just leave now."
Sometimes people, they'll talk about their ideologies, but to help bring it into perspective, sometimes people, if there's Democrats, they may say I'm a FDR or a New Deal Democrat. If
Right,
they're
right,
Republican, they may say that I'm a Reagan, I'm someone who's like more like Reagan, right? That's very,
right.
But who's influential to yourself?
Ronald Reagan definitely has been a big influence for me. But Newt Gingrich, believe it or not,
Right.
and his whole contract with America, this was inspiring to me because I was like, when have we ever had a Congress come together and say, okay, that's it, we're going to do this in this amount of time, go. And he did it. And because he did it, even his own Republicans did everything they could to try to undermine him, to attack him. And we have a president now that, well, we've had all kinds of people attack him left and right and center, and even Republicans, and it's like, come on, whatever happened to if you have a good guy who plays by the rules, stays in
Yeah.
bounds, and but what I've learned is this: if you're the last Boy Scout, they will invent things about you. They will try to throw monkey wrenches into your works during your campaign. You can have zero in your career, nothing bad, and yet they will invent it, they'll lie about it, and then they just walk away when it blows up in their face like nothing happened. And for you as a candidate, you have to defend yourself against something that shouldn't even be there. And by the way, I've been through this purging of fire, okay? And I have a new philosophy. You ready?
Mhm.
My philosophy is this: anybody who files a complaint against me to the FEC or the Secretary of State or a star or anything like that, I will be bringing charges against them. You want to know why? Because I know they are lying. There's no evidence for anything they made claims to, which I've already gone through. So now it's real simple. I get sued for defamation, campaign interference, libel, slander, and I'm going to do it. If I have to take your last $100, so be it. You know, um, to me, all's fair, especially in politics, right? If you're going to
Yeah,
start it, I'm going to finish it.
that's true. A lot of times that's just, when there's so much at stake. The thing is
Yes,
that, if you take a look at like a regular high school basketball game, people, even there, people cheat. But the thing is that if you take NBA, where there's a championship game could be, if you're a championship team, you're going to sell so much more merchandise. It's billions of dollars at stake. People are going to, pay off the ref. There's just too much. So
Yeah.
this is government. This is not a ball game. There's
Right.
even more at stake. So if people think that, it's hard to clean up professional sports, we see professional performance enhancing drugs being used everywhere.
Yep.
It's going to be much harder to actually clean up a position like this where there's so much, responsibility involved by government.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, for me, I'm not getting into office or trying to become governor to feather my nest. I'm not doing that to help any industry. I'm not doing that to do anything like that at all. For me, my wife, what we make, what we have coming in, we're okay. We can get through all this. But if I can be in a position where I can fix things and make it better for a whole lot more people, I think I have a certain responsibility to do that. Um,
Okay.
and it's I don't want to be governor for the next 8, 14, 20, 50 years. No, 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 no. I would love to be able to go in for 4 years, clean up, fix the mess, make sure there are good qualified people to take my place, and then go do my retirement stuff, which won't be really be retirement. My grandfather always said, never ever fully retire. He said you can retire when the day you drop dead. And I kind of agree with that, to be honest. If you can still contribute, then you should. And whether
That makes
that's
sense. Yeah.
being a substitute teacher, because I know a lot of people that have a lot of life experience and then they retire. Well, what good are they doing now? Well, my advice to all of them: become a teacher, become a substitute, share your world knowledge with these kids, get them inspired and motivated. And
I
you know,
I understand.
too many counselors, too many young teachers straight out of school, they don't have those life experiences to share, to kind of inspire and motivate. And fundamentally, teaching is about inspiration, motivation, learning, education. That's a byproduct, that's a side effect, and give you an example. Today, I taught first graders. Okay. It's
Okay.
about 10 kids in the class. And you know what I taught them today after we went through all their math and all their stuff?
What's
I
that?
taught them the Pythagoras theorem.
Okay.
These kids got it. They're first graders.
That's
they're
that's good. Yeah.
I kind of pride myself on the ability of taking very complicated things, and making them easy for people to understand. And when I showed them how awesome they were, that they understood this, and it made sense to them, and they could answer the questions I asked, giving simple examples, I'm inspired. And I know what our youth is capable of, but they've been dumbed down, especially in this state. Oh my gosh, you won't believe how bad it is here. They've literally dumbed down the curriculum so bad, especially through the teachers unions, their effect, that they were trying to get the colleges to reduce their entrance exam requirements. Okay, they're
Yeah.
trying to let's take lesser people into college now. Well, you're defeating the whole purpose, right? You know,
Yeah. The college degree is not really worth. Most Americans, I think they said, no longer see the value in a college degree. So it's really,
that's my grandfather told me when I was young. He said, "Listen, grandson," he said, in this life, for the most part, you can come through everything and with just experience alone, and that will get you to the top. But unfortunately for you, you're going to have to get that piece of paper and the experience. You're just going to have to
you
deal with that.
know, I uh, I understand that, but my own take has been slightly different. But it's good to know.
Oh, it's different
Um,
now.
yeah.
It's very different now.
Yeah.
Even different from when it was for me. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
59 years old. Okay. Um, I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm doing the best to stay a kind of a spring chicken.
Yeah. I understand. Personally, I have my own thoughts on that, but really, this interview is about asking you, not
Oh,
about
sure.
me. So we're gonna keep it there. I may ask at the end, right? But I just want to make sure that all the questions follow in order because I just want to be as fair to you as possible.
I totally
We have
understand.
multiple
Thank
questions coming out here, but I'm not saying that anything you said was really technically wrong, right? But there are just some different angles that I can see that particular issue from. But that's cool. That's the strength of bringing the team together. So the next question is, there's people who come to this candidates who come with different levels of experience, and I think it's very cool that you've actually run in third party. You've run some people have like kind of like an easy way up, right? They're either like rich or they come
Yeah,
from a famous family, like the Bushes or something like that, and they're kind of like thrown in like through special elections and they get into office and stuff like that. You've been politically involved for quite some time. I've seen you giving speeches. I've seen you run for other offices before. What are you most proud of accomplishing? As and it could be something just related, right? Because I've worked in management as well. Well, what are you most proud of that's relevant to being governor? Because sometimes people say I'm proud of my kids, and that's a sweet answer. I understand that, but
sure.
I was looking for more management based. I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, when I was in the Navy, one of the great things about the U.S. Navy is that when you come in and you get on board a ship and you're Seaman Schmuckatelli, and they go, okay,
Yeah.
we want you to learn to fight this ship if you're the last man standing. That means operating it, driving it, feeding whoever's left. The goal is that you can do anything and everything on that ship, right? And that was
Right.
one of the great things about the Navy is that they could take anybody, I mean anybody, and build them, set them up to be able to handle all these different things. And I thought for myself, I'm like, wow, okay. So volunteering for something, whether it's a birthing rehab or a base closure or an audit, which I've done all these things, I volunteered for these things. Okay. And I got to take these whole projects on and I succeeded at them in huge ways. Now, mind you, one of the audits I did, I recovered over $5 million in overpayments to AT&T on commercial landlines. Well, guess what I got? I got a Navy Achievement Medal
For saving millions of dollars. Yeah, no,
that
that's
didn't
great.
didn't put my kids through college, didn't help them with anything, and I realized that at that point it's like, I got some skills that I think I could take into the civilian market and do something big with. And so I really focused on the project management, even of what I was doing in the Navy. I really enjoyed it. It didn't even matter what it was. And so then when I got into the civilian world, from starting companies to oil field projects, materials coordinator in the oil field. All these different things were like bigger challenges. And I had a different approach to things and it worked. And wherever I could save people money, that's what I did. But rarely did I ever benefit from that exactly. But no matter, I just kind of kept striving forward. And so now I kind of look at all the problems that our state has as all these little projects that other people were in charge of, they've been failing miserably at, and they need an expert to pop in and literally go through every single one of them, come up with a plan, get it back on track on time and under budget. And I
Yeah.
know I'm the kind of guy that can do that. It's
No,
just
and I
who I
really
am.
do appreciate that. I think that people like yourself are really needed. A lot of these legislators are kind of like sometimes they come from academic backgrounds. They've never really gotten their hands dirty, and they don't
Right.
really understand the conditions that are out there in the field. They may not, when they go out to the field, they may not recognize or understand what's going on. As someone who's been in the Navy, who's worked in bureaucracy, you've got to see where it's efficient and where it breaks down. And I think
Hmm.
it's a very essential, experience to have. But a lot of people they like a pretty face. They like something that they see on TV. But practical experience is so important. And now I was actually going to speak when you were saying earlier about like the kids with their degree and stuff like that. Um, once again, the schools are not teaching a lot of times appropriate, productive knowledge inside the kids. It comes with
Right.
woke ideologies saying like, we got to do
Oh,
these weird projects and stuff, and it's messing things up. So yeah,
the
kids are
worst part
not.
about that
Yeah.
is just how much money that whole mess has wasted. Absolutely wasted. And when I read some of these guys and when I run into like the green people and what have you, they're all like, I said, so what's your degree in? And they're like, oh well, that doesn't really matter. Well, no, you got a degree, don't you? Well, yeah. Well, what's your degree in? Philosophy. I said, oh yeah, my degree is in workforce education, double major in mechanical engineering, mathematics. I said, you have no business telling anybody what to do green wise, one way or the other.
Yeah,
There's
right.
no
It's there you go.
where are
Exactly.
you going to go? Where's the philosophy factory hiring at? Tell me there. Okay, right? The only job you're going to get as a philosophy major is teaching philosophy. All right,
So now they
that's
need to
it.
justify their jobs and then they come up with some weird ideology that is not really
Bingo.
helping anybody, but it makes them feel better about themselves.
Well,
They
so
actually
that's what it's about. It's literally about building themselves up with nothing. They have nothing, they
yeah.
are nothing, so they want to build that up to something that's a pinnacle point, which everybody else is still looking down at. and
Yeah.
they had this mental image in their head that somehow they've elevated themselves above the world. And I
Yeah.
don't get it. I mean, in some cases, I've had to work 2, 3 times more to achieve something than what some other people I know have done, right? And that's
Yeah.
frustrating, but it doesn't deter me, you know? And I think having that type of tenacity, that stick to itiveness, that never give up, never say die mentality, it's absolutely imperative, especially when you're diving into the garbage chute, you know?
I appreciate that. Yeah. The education that we learn can be empower us or can be to make us, compliant, you know, tools. And,
Yeah.
we got to be careful. So our liberty is something that needs to be preserved. And I really do believe that. And education, once again, can be freeing or it can be subjugating. So we got to get
You know,
this.
I'm I'm Generation X, okay? And as far as I'm concerned, we're the best generation that's lived. We've really did a good job. We've done amazing things. However, we've kind of been absent. We've not quite
Yeah.
been in the fray like we should be. Because why? We're happy people for the most part. Okay, we've seen, we've done, we've killed, we've accomplished, we've done whatever we needed to do. We're good to go. But we see
Yeah.
these other generations, and when I talk to these young students, and I ask these kids, I said, so have you ever heard anybody tell you anything good about yourself? And they're like, oh no. I'm like, what? What do you mean no? You're a young generation. You have all this potential. You got AI, you got technology, you got amazing things coming, and you guys have certain traits, certain abilities that I kind of see in my own generation when we were younger. I said, so I see you guys not being Generation Z or Zombie or Alpha. How about you guys become Generation X freaking squared? How about that? X squared is
Yeah.
bigger than X, right? Well,
Yeah.
I want to see you guys be better than us. And if you need us as mentors, we're right here for you, you know? But we
One of the
want
things I'm
that.
really happy. One of the things I'm really happy that you're in the schools is because a lot of things, like for example, when school teaches us about math, for instance, right? They'll
Yeah,
teach us the slope of a line, right? Y equals mx plus b, and if that line's curved, they'll teach us calculus to make sure that we know if the line's going up. But the kids are not learning how to like the probably the food in their schools here in New York. It looks like it came out of a prison cell. The
yeah,
kids do not know how to change the quality of the food. Do they talk to the mayor, state assembly person, board of
right.
education, the principal? They're not taught to actually change or empower their own lives. That's why someone like you, who can help give them a civics education, right? That's been
Mhm.
taken out of our schools. The kids have not really learned how to empower themselves. They've learned to make someone else rich. So they've lost their they've lost their motivation and I think that someone like yourself is really needed in the schools, but to teach the other things in life, like what you're doing now, right? I think what you're
Yeah,
doing now is very important. Yeah,
you know, one of the things, one of the blank spots in my upbringing was how to invest, how to make your money, how to really establish a future, financial
yeah,
legacy, right? And I read this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I love this book because it's in the one
yeah,
idea. I can tell you one little thing. And he said, my poor dad, when I said, hey dad, I want to get a bicycle, and the poor dad goes, I'm sorry son, we just can't afford it. Now his rich dad, his other mentor down the street, said, well, I wonder how we could afford it. Two
yeah,
totally different trains of thought here. And
exactly.
and the other thing that I learned was that you got to take your dollars, and they're like little soldiers, and you got to send them into battle, and they got to go bring back more soldiers.
Yeah,
And it's a fundamental basic thing that needs to be taught to everybody on the planet, but it's overlooked. Usually it's only the wealthier people that are sharing that with their offspring and what have you. And to me, I think that's just part of home ec, right? Let's go back to
yeah,
eighth grade home ec, seventh grade, eighth grade home ec, and teach how to do investments, how to prepare for your future, get them actually thinking this way. And it's not complicated, it's not hard. Last year, I actually taught at a high school for 4 months straight, and it was freshman algebra and sophomore geometry. And kids hated math. It was rare I had a couple students that really liked it, but by the time I left after 4 months, boy, students were loving some math, and they were really enjoying it. And now when I go back to that school, I run into students like, Mr. Romero, can you come back and teach math? It was so much more fun with you, you know.
all right.
Um, what you also learn is that every teacher's got a different song and dance, and I'm really pretty inspired by it, and I'm excited about it, not to mention the future. And when I hear Japan or China teaching their kids quantum mechanics in the grade school, I'm like, okay, we got to up our game, you know. And
Yeah.
so, like I said, today I took a little gamble and I threw the Pythagoras theorem at a bunch of first graders, and you know what? They did well. That gives me hope. That gives me even more inspiration for myself to keep doing what I'm doing. And whether it's teach, I'm going to teach till the day I die. Okay, I'll tell you that straight up. Now, if I got to go in and do governor thing for 4 years as governor in Oregon, you're not just the governor, you're also the superintendent of Oregon schools. So
Okay.
you get to, your signature changes things on a dime. And here in Oregon, I've been to grade schools where they literally have tampons in grade schools in the boys' bathroom. Now you explain, where's the intelligence there? It's non-existent. It is a waste of money and everything else. The school district, a lot of them don't even want to participate, but they're kind of being force-fed this by our current governor. All right.
Yeah.
And I'd be totally happy with Thunderdome. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
Yeah.
I'm ready for that. Okay, I really am. But we're not going to get that chance, unfortunately. That's not how it works around here, But still, I think that going in as governor here in Oregon, you can't just go in with fluff. If you don't have a plan, you have no business trying to represent the state of Oregon. And I know we can turn Oregon around in 4 years. I actually less, I'm pretty sure. But it's a circle. They've been chasing jobs out of the state. They've been taxing us into oblivion. We can't afford what we're paying now. And I get to see these kids. I get to talk to their parents. I know how much pain they're in. I see it every day. But all these other politicians, they're fat, dumb, and happy, and they're just looking for another way to feather their nest better. And in this state, we have a big issue with China. Here's one for you. Go look this up. OregonChinaCouncil.org.
Okay.
It shouldn't even exist, and yet it does. China's been buying up ranches, farms, water rights in Southern Oregon, all kinds of rental properties, regular single-family home. They've been buying up all kinds of stuff. The state of Oregon sold out our resources to the federal government. Federal government gives us federal welfare so that we don't use our own resources. And because of that, now it's kind of the federal welfare, it decreases over time, right? We're about halfway through that curve, halfway, and now Curry County, they have a whittled down to the bone budget, right? And they're down to a sheriff, one for the whole county. That's it, right? And when we had access to the forest and managing our own land and everything, we weren't cutting down all the trees. We were cutting down some, we were thinning some, we were planting new trees. That was what we did in the 80s. And with that, we paid for roads, we paid for schools and band uniforms and football uniforms and all the stuff we needed. Books, you name it. Now, they're spending almost over $17,000 a student in Oregon. And I'm telling you now, all that money per student is not going to the students. I believe it's
Yeah.
actually being skimmed off for PERS and the morons that are actually running the state employee retirement plan. One of my
Okay, great.
sayings is this: life is too short to be an asshole, but there are people who will argue the point. And when I say that to those people, they kind of look at me and realize they probably just got insulted, but they're not quite sure, you know? So, no, I think patience is a huge thing and understanding is a huge thing, all within reason. So, but no, not a problem.
All right. Really appreciate that. All right. So now we're actually headed to the part of the interview that's actually asking about your policies. I usually put my partners first, so I'm going to ask about their stuff, and then I'm
Okay.
going to ask about some of the general stuff. So the first one is, and actually that was a great segue, what we were just talking about, because right now, if we look at Israel-Palestine, there are many areas of conflict, such as Korea,
Hmm.
and China, stuff like that, right? And that they're doing weird thing with the Philippines. What is your vision for peace in the face of foreign domestic interference?
Okay. Well, having been in the Navy, being a Navy spook, I worked for the Naval Security Group. I also worked
Okay.
for the National Security Agency overseas. And first of all, I love overseas. I love going to foreign countries. I really do, and I wish I could go to all of them. Okay,
Yeah.
I found great benefit to being able to visit other countries, and they all have something to offer. Okay, now that
Mhm.
said, I also understand there are certain people large and in charge in different places that, well, they're not nearly as friendly as I'd like them to be, you know. And on top of it, they're doing everything they can to take advantage of wherever they can. And unfortunately, we had a country with a president that was literally allowing the world to rape us, is how I see it. Okay. We were going a little too easy on everybody. Having been a
You talking
spook,
about Biden?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. He was asleep. Yeah, he wasn't even
Well,
awake for
and
half of that. But go ahead.
you know,
Yeah.
the worst part is the people that were working for him. To me, they're the ones that probably
Yeah.
committed all the real treason here, you know. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to see these people paraded down the street because it needs to happen. You know, if I ever did anything like they did, oh, I'd be
Yeah.
in Leavenworth trying to get on the softball team, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a tough team to get on, you know. But with other countries, whether it's China, the fact is this: there's elements that are always going to be pushing to dominate, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it's Russia, North Korea, China. North Korea, they really are kind of like that little dog that just won't leave you alone. But at the same time, if you talk kind of nice to them and make them feel a little better about themselves, it'll work out. It'll be okay. You have China, you have Taiwan going on. China can't just be allowed to bully any other country they want. It's just not right. And same thing
Yeah.
with Russia and Ukraine. You know, I've seen what they've done there. I saw what happened with Crimea when Obama was in charge and allowed all that to just happen. You know, and also the more I learn about Desert Shield and Storm and what really was going on back during all that time, it's a little disappointing for me because as a military person, you think you're doing all the right things for all the right reasons. You really do. And
Right.
over time, well, other truths come out, things you didn't know, which is a little frustrating, a little disappointing. But such is the nature of war and people that work in the Pentagon and what have you. Um, it's a
Well, let
matter
me give you let
of
me give you a little hypothetical. Let me give you a little
sure.
hypothetical, okay? So the thing is that you bring up good points, but the thing is that here in New York, actually, just so you know, the CCP's actually is actually trying to influence our government. And also, just so you know, in California, you could see Newsom signing some different like, agreements to hook up, right? That's the governor of California. If you were
Yep.
the governor of Oregon, right? Once again, you said they are buying up farmland, they're buying up water supply. These are core infrastructural, national security issues. And as a governor, you have the right to sign certain contracts. Now, the Chinese people are very crafty, and they'll come in and say, we'll give you billions of dollars for this infrastructure, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
So on one hand, you're looking at billions of dollars, but then you're also looking at giving up like,
So
how do
much more.
you right? And also they'll be also impacting elections, right? Like they'll
Right.
have different not-for-profits or different. And actually, I think Trump did a great thing, as in terms of chopping off. Hopefully, he does more to chop off
Hmm.
the arms of these not-for-profits that are actually agents of other countries and stuff like that. But how will you actually bring right a lot of other jurisdictions like California? I don't know if you heard about them getting in bed with the Chinese. You see it going on in your own neighborhood. How are you
Hmm.
going to be able to control that when they dangle the money in front? Where
Okay.
will you
So
succeed where the other ones failed?
this is where, you know, at some point I'm going to get a chance to go talk to Elon Musk. I'm going to get to talk to some other big wigs like that that have the funds to help us kind of bring Oregon back into the mainstream without, you know, destroying forests or anything like that. But fundamentally here in Oregon, the Chinese Communist Party is alive and well. Okay. Now, like I said, go look up the OregonChinaCouncil.org. Okay. The
I
worst part
will.
is you're going to see a Republican, David Brock Smith, up to his eyeballs there. Thing about David, David's one of those guys that has all these titles but no real talent. Okay, he's got 3 DUIs to his name,
Yeah.
so and a high school diploma. This is a pretty good example of what I call about people that really aren't qualified to do what they're doing, and they're getting paid through the back doors or who knows what. So with the
Corruption
Chinese
loves
Communist,
incompetence. They
oh,
look for incompetent
oh,
people to when they're
absolutely.
controllable.
So
Yeah.
so I'm the last person they want to see as the governor because what I'm going to do is very simple. I'll tell you straight up. So a number of other states have already sued China for the whole COVID thing, right? And
Right.
they've won. They've done their stuff, and then they've gone around. They've confiscated every Chinese asset in the state. Well, guess what I'm going to do?
Okay.
I'm going to do exactly that. Then once we finish that, we're going to have a fire sale for all Oregonians, so they can actually get in on some of these farms and ranches and what have you. And China's going to be very much kicked out of the state. Anybody involved with them will also be investigated for funds that they've received through from China, possibly through Act Blue or wherever else, and that will be dealt with accordingly as well. We have to have real accountability, and if we don't go in there with the flamethrower blazing, it's just going to keep going on. And for me,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not the guy that can be bought. Okay,
Right.
it's not my nature. It's not who I am. It's not who I ever will be. Not to mention, if I ever did cross that line, I have a long list of awesome people that would kick my backside. But they know me. They can trust me. So no, I'm going to be pretty harsh with China. It's just, and it's only because they've been harsh with us. They've been abusive of us. So what I figure is this, payback's a bitch, and it's time for me to give CCP some karma.
Our military, our intelligence, people say that the number one foreign threat to the United States is China, actually.
Doesn't
They think
surprise me
that,
at all.
yeah. So
Yeah,
talking about, just to also bring things in perspective, because actually what's interesting here is, well, there's other things that bring together, but also I talk about Israel-Palestine in the IPAC, American Israel, they make a large contributions. And this is also somewhat like, being talked about in the Republican Party, right? You see the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing, the
yeah.
Thomas Massey thing. Do you have any particular position on that, or?
Well, it's like this. By the way, I've been to Israel. Okay,
Okay,
somewhere out there, there's a picture of me with an IDF patrol with the whip antenna guy and the big
okay,
guns and stuff. I never got a copy of that, unfortunately, but and I can appreciate what Israel has done and had to do to protect their small piece of the planet. I don't like genocide in any capacity, and what I've learned is that very simply this with Israel, if they want us to be their friend and help
right,
fund them and do all that, well, number one, you better stop doing the stuff in this country that I know you're doing. Okay. There's things that they're doing here that number one, they should not be doing, and they're
yeah,
hiding it. And I'm ready to go hold some people accountable because I'm waiting for Trump to actually hold some people accountable. I'm expecting him to somehow, some way, but I understand he's got to find balance that he's working with politically. But fundamentally, you know, I want peace in the Middle East. I remember Egypt. I remember Sadat. I've been to his memorial there. Um, that was like the greatest opportunity for peace in the Middle East. And what did they do to it? And then the question is always, well, who really was responsible? I mean, the stuff I've seen with the CIA, having worked for the NSA, I have some insight there. There's actually a lot of good things that happen too that nobody ever gets to know about. Um,
by the way, is coming from someone whose country, my own country, was also affected by things after World War II. I think it's a very balanced opinion, and I appreciate that, right? You're not all for one side or the other. You're about holding them accountable, being fair, and I think that's really America at its best. So I appreciate that, right?
you
So
know something?
yeah,
A 2-year-old knows what's fair, okay? And I know
yeah,
a bunch of adults that don't, all right? And that really bothers me. Being fair, being reasonable is like something that's kind of been lost on a lot of politicians, And what country were you from?
Korea, but yeah, they get into
Yeah.
playing teams, so you know what I mean.
Well, let me
They
tell you something for Koreans. I mean, North Koreans, they are so kind of, I think, largely in the dark about the reality of the planet, right? But when somebody escapes from North Korea, first of all, salute. That's quite an ordeal in itself. There's a gal that I follow. She escaped from North Korea, and I'm
Yeonmi
going to have
Park,
to find her name.
Yeonmi Park,
I'm
Yeonmi
sorry.
Park, Yeonmi Park, Yeonmi Park. The voice from
Um,
North Korea. Don't worry about it. Yeah, she's probably the most famous one. It's probably her.
that might no, that's it's not her. It's somebody else, but she's really good. And I
Okay.
I, I usually find her in oh come on
Don't worry about it. It's a
Twitter.
big world, man. Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot of countries. Yeah,
I'm gonna
no, I
find
know.
it and I'm gonna send it to you because she's a
I
real
appreciate
good
that.
one. And I appreciate the honesty that comes out of the people that escape all that. And here in America, nobody should be supporting socialism or communism or Marxism. And then the first thing they do is they call you every name under the sun: fascist, misogynist, racist. I've been called all
Yeah,
these things. And automatically I'm like, well, I'm going to get you a dictionary for Christmas because obviously you don't know what any of those things mean, you know? Um, I run into that a
yeah,
lot.
that's there's a lot of truth to that, to tell you the truth. Yeah. And the
Yeah.
fact of
And
the matter is that a lot of these people, and I know they mean well, right? And fortunately these kids, they've been influenced by their college professors who talk about communism as like some great shining light.
yeah,
But I want them to think about this, just to talk to y'all. I know you're maybe watching this. The thing is that it's like a civil rights movement with no black people. They don't talk to anybody from communist countries who survived, right? They don't want to talk to actual people who've been a part of communist countries. They want to live in their little idealized, campus, you know, utopia, which isn't really reflective of how communism really has developed in the real world. So
well, it's
there's
socialism
this, yeah,
until they can achieve communism. And the fact is,
yeah,
you never get to that. Okay.
you
All the
just
money
don't,
gets
yeah,
spent. There's nothing left. And just to let you know, my wife, Oksana, she was actually a political refugee from Ukraine some
yeah,
years ago. Okay. And one of her claims to fame is she had quite a dossier, KGB dossier on her. And it started when she was 11 years old. Okay. She was a big proponent, and her father was a doctor and mother was a doctor. And all the stuff that they went through. And I learned what she went through just as an immigrant to become an American citizen. That process, I'm telling you now, I'd be hard pressed to do it. It was not easy. And for her to actually have to go to Moscow to get the final whatever, I'm still blown away by her experience. And I told her, I said, you need to write this down, all the
yeah,
gory details, and for her to be here and seeing what's going on, boy, she's about pulling her hair out. She just doesn't understand how Americans could be so blind to what's right in front of them, and it's not good. Here in
I'm
Oregon,
afraid I'm afraid it's because of the schools. I'm afraid that at the lower education, you're right, like people need some basic skills, but at the top, they've been so, taken over by woke ideology and by,
yes, yeah,
that it's just
it's
got
like
out of control.
how to
Yeah.
make us
They're
all
not learning
less
how to
than
become,
mediocre.
yeah, yeah,
How to make us all less than mediocre, and then that way the people that are large and in charge, well, they're large and in charge always.
yeah,
Um, and so for here in Oregon, one thing I could tell you is the other candidates, none of them, not one of them can hold a candle to me as far as the whole education side of things. Not only my actual education, but my life experience, and then my position for education. Because right now we have so many graduates. I met a guy from Oregon State University, mechanical engineering degree, pumping gas at the Fred Meyer gas station.
yeah.
You see anything wrong with that? You know what I told them? I
No,
said, I appreciate you want to stay here in Oregon. I did too, but you're going to have to leave,
yeah,
go out of state. So I gave him I referred him to a couple different companies in Louisiana that
okay,
will probably pay him 60, 70 grand right out of the chute as a
yeah,
mechanical engineer, you know, and that will change his life. And I said, you can always come back, and so a big part of what I have to do is make Oregon a great place economically, not only for the people to be able to afford to have a vacation and be able to afford what they need, but to bring in business that's conducive to Oregon, but also will help use the people here. Will train the people here. I'm big on the trades. I think that even Elon Musk, if he needs rocket engines built, he can train the engineers to do that stuff here. He could do it here. I know he can, and I just got to
yes, you
show
can.
him that it's the right thing to do. And
Yes,
I know it's going to take some outside help, but it will not be the Chinese Communist Party.
okay. The next question that I have is another, I work with a coalition of different groups to try to, because by myself, right, I can't get my issues addressed in a democracy or republic even, which we're in a republic. You cannot really get, help as a minority unless you form coalitions, right? And we're
Mhm.
all minorities in our own senses. So the thing is that one of the groups I work with is people in public housing, and we know that public housing, supports people that are sometimes have disabilities, sometimes they
Mhm.
have elderly, sometimes they're veterans. I do think that there has to be some, just so you know, the public housing is the weakest element of my whole entire activist community because unfortunately some of this stuff is kind of like taken care of too much. They have it a
Okay.
little bit too easy. They have a place to sleep at night, all comfortable. So, it can also become a dependency, trap. But
Yes.
once again, I do support public housing for the people that are most vulnerable, like people with disabilities, once again, elderly, who can't really interact with things in a normal way, or people that are, once again, veterans, right? They're all traumatized. They can't really, they've done, and thank you for your service, by the way.
Hey,
Would you
I'm ready to
support
do it
public?
again.
Yeah. Actually, during the Obama era, they actually scheduled to get rid of public housing as we know it. Would you support public housing? It would make the United States one of the few developed countries without a public housing system. Would
Okay.
you still support public housing, or if, or do you
Well,
think that's fine?
here's the deal.
Okay.
Number one, if we did things right, you never have to worry about public housing. Okay, that's
Yeah.
the truth. Okay,
You see,
but
that
what I
there's a lot of truth in that. Malcolm X also said that. Go
yeah,
ahead.
oh, I didn't know that,
Yeah.
but cool. I'll give him the
Yeah.
credit. So here's the thing. There's a place in Bend, Oregon, the Bethlehem Inn, right? And it's a homeless shelter,
Yeah.
families and singles, everything, and they don't take any state money or federal money. Okay,
Okay.
they operate so awesome. Their example is should be repeated everywhere because they get people in, they help people find jobs, they get them going again. And the thing is, the longer you're homeless, the harder it is to get back into the flow of things. Okay,
Yeah.
you get past 6 months and it gets triple hard. Okay, and if you're longer, it's even harder. People get comfortable. They know how they can barely survive, and that's what they shoot for. They've basically given up hope. They've given up, and there's nothing there. And we have politicians that are spending billions of dollars on homeless, billions of dollars on drugs in the streets in Oregon and Portland, and yet they fixed nothing. Now, see, if I gave half of that money to an organization like that runs the Bethlehem Inn, we wouldn't be having a problem. Okay. Number
Yeah.
two, Oregon, a lot of governors in other states send their homeless here.
Yeah.
So part of my deal as governor, and it's what I'm going to do, I'm going to find out where you came from. And wherever you came from, you're going back. If you're from Oregon, fine, just stay here. We're going to work with you. But if you're not, I'm going to send you back to the state they sent you from, and I'm going to send them a bill. Okay. And if I have to
Yeah.
deliver it in person, I will do that. You know, the next thing that you have to understand here in Oregon is that for almost 40 years, the state of Oregon has had a set rate of 5% tax on property. Okay, set. It cannot grow, cannot shrink. It's set. Well, every year though, the state increases your property value by 3%,
Yeah.
regardless of any improvement to the property. Okay, so they're increasing the actual value, which increases the amount you pay, even though they can't raise the percentage rate. Okay, they've been doing that for 40 years. Do you wonder why no young person can afford property in Oregon? It's all been overly inflated. My own home, Zillow has it at $608,000. Okay.
Yeah.
The state of Oregon raised my property value $120,000 this last year to almost $800,000. I couldn't sell it for that. you know, I probably couldn't even get 608 for it, to be honest. And I see people with mobile homes that are getting priced at like $300,000 on a mobile home, right?
Yeah.
Insane. Um, so Oregon has literally priced everybody out, just trying to create revenue. So the Democrats that have run our state have literally driven it into the ground. They keep demanding all this money. They take it in. They don't spend it well at all. Half the state is working for the state. That's not sustainable. They even had people with the PERS program where they were guaranteed a 10% return on their money every year, regardless of what the market did or what their people that invest their money did. Problem is,
Let me provide you with a little bit of a warning just from New York.
sure,
Yeah. So the thing is that New York has 8.5 million people.
yeah.
Okay. Guess how much they spend per year on homeless services?
Oh my gosh, this is gonna be a big number.
Okay, a little under $4 billion a year. That means each person's probably paying like, um, home
Wow.
like thousands of dollars for like a homeless service. And the thing is that the money, just so you know, I actually work with the homeless, a lot. A lot of the money gets sucked into when someone's working for like religious services like Salvation Army. I usually find that they
Right.
do a better job, right, or Bowery Mission. But when someone just has a government job and is supposed to help the homeless, a lot of times the money gets stolen and
Yeah.
it goes towards like exorbitant like not-for-profit directors. They get, how much the president makes? $400,000 a year. Should be, right?
They
But
get
these
paid more
executive
than the
directors,
governor.
yeah, they get paid $700,000 a year. These not-for-profit executives, they're just leeching the money out, saying they're helping people, but they're actually exploiting them. So I know a lot
They're
of
not
people
doing the
that,
job. They're not doing
yeah,
the job. We have the same
yeah,
problem here in Oregon.
yeah,
I mean, we have this thing, the Oregon Health Authority, right? And this was
yeah,
started, I think, in 2009. And this thing costs us insane amounts of money.
yeah,
And I think they have like 5 psychiatrist type guys that sit in there. They get paid over $1 million a year. I'm sure a bunch of
yeah.
that probably gets kicked back to the governor, right? Um,
Exactly. That's
and
all it is. Exactly. They
yeah,
use the money from the homeless services for not-for-profits to become a money machine and an incumbency machine to generate votes. Because the thing is that even though not-for-profits by law are not supposed to give money to political campaigns,
right.
that's who determines the contract. So they absolutely, and I can't really blame them. It's just natural for them to do that. But it leads to huge problems, and it leads to people instead of the communities getting the services, the communities are exploited and
Yep.
are actually extorted for services, and
So
it really
it's like
hurts the poor people really badly.
everybody's skimming off the top, and then what's left
Yeah,
doesn't even get to where it's supposed to go. And
exactly.
I really think these types of people in these positions need to be held accountable and prosecuted some way. But I'll give you another example: the
And
unions,
that
for example.
and that whole cushy kind of thing where they take care of each other and give each other fat salaries leads to
Yep.
gentrification, rising prices, the lack of affordability because they're hooking up all their friends to these corrupt deals,
Yes.
and then the property values go up,
Lots of
and then your
nepotism.
taxes go up too because they need to fund their shenanigans. So all of a sudden your property values are going through the roof. They're
Yeah.
just killing the affordability. So in one aspect, they say they're helping you, they want to put you on a handout, but they don't ever want to really teach you to be independent or free. They want you to be their dependent forever.
See, one thing I've learned is this: is that when you go through life, there are certain things that just work, right? Certain systems. And it's like in Japan. Have you ever been to Japan? I've never really been there, but I've actually looked and watched a lot of stuff that's there and how they go about doing things. And they have limited space and all that. I'm like, there's got to be a way for us to take care of a homeless situation or create affordable places for people to live. And we're this is 2025. Okay, we were supposed to have flying cars back in 2010, I think, right? Okay, well, there's got to be something else we can do. And I'm of the mind of the rich dad. How can we do it? Right? Okay. Well, that's where you go and you seek out all those organizations, all the people around the planet that and how they've done things to make it work and keep it affordable. But the other thing you have to do is you have to carve out all the middlemen. And if anyone pops up, you got to cut his head off quick. You know,
It's true.
um, Something I learned about the unions here in Oregon, for example, right? The SEIU, all our smaller businesses stuff are leaving the state. Okay. We're losing jobs. Businesses are leaving. Why? The SEIU, if the business isn't big enough to unionize, SEIU doesn't want it. It's out, right? So everything that's going on is working to get rid of all the little guys. So then you have the SEIU. Have you ever heard of Walk a Day?
No.
Okay. In order for any person that's running for office to get money from the SEIU, you have to register with them and go on a walk a day with one of their employees to experience their day of work. Okay. And not until you've done this a couple times will you ever see a penny as a candidate from the SEIU. I've been trying to get on that list for over 4 years. They won't even call me back. I'm thinking I may actually have a legitimate suit against them for discrimination. Okay. And I'm going to have to sue the SEIU. Well,
They're
once
very
I become
powerful.
governor,
They're a very powerful lobby force. They're
oh,
extremely in
yes.
New York. Yeah.
Yeah. And basically, the SEIU is just a fundraising arm for the Democrat Party. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what it is. And the other thing I think is this: is that no government employee should be allowed to even be a member of a union. Government employees do pretty well, better than most people. They don't need that bargaining. Now, I'm not saying there's not a place for unions in certain places, but a union's about balance between the employer and the worker. Okay.
Okay.
And as soon as it's tilted one way or the other, someone's losing and it's going to blow up. Okay. Um, it there are places for unions to basically take an unbalanced situation and bring it into balance. But as soon
Yeah.
as it's taking it out of balance, that's when it's wrong. And that's just the truth. Um, and when you when people get the upper hand in a union, do you think they want to let it go? Heck no.
No.
And the
Actually,
SEIU is,
this is true in a lot of activism, just so you know. What happens is that it's usually you hear between one millionaire force and another millionaire force, and the regular people's issues are just completely never acknowledged. So what
yes,
happens is that the employer's right. I'm not saying they're always right or always wrong, but the union becomes its own bureaucracy and its own millionaire force that actually
yes,
predates on the people it says that they're representing, and if they become their own kind of aristocracy within the whole unit that is actually living off the work of others. So
they are a
if they're doing their
leech.
job fine, but they're not, just because it's a union doesn't mean it's always good. Can
That's
be
right.
good, can be bad. There's some good unions, there's some bad unions, and
Well, look
you
at
need to have balance.
the electricians union, right?
Yeah,
When do you ever hear anything about them?
not really. Yeah, they
And
just
I'll
ignore
tell you
them.
why. There's balance.
Yeah,
Okay. Teachers union, no balance. Matter of fact, teachers union, it's something I run into all the time. Teachers here in Oregon are getting forced into the DEI, forced into the woke baloney, all that stuff. And a whole lot of them are 100% against it. And my answer to them is very simply this: leave your union, get out, stop giving them
yeah,
money and break them, And now there's an organization out there. I just ran across it today. The guy was superintendent of schools in some state. He's left that job to run this organization that its only purpose is to kill teachers unions. Okay. Fantastic. Because guess what? Teachers union, another arm of the Democrat Party's funding. That's what it is. That's what it really does. Does it help students?
yeah,
No. Does it really help teachers? No. It skims everything they can off the teachers. And as a substitute teacher, I've been in environments where I get to kind of talk to people and I get to feel things out and get some really good insight. And it makes me feel better knowing that there's a whole lot of teachers that are just like fed up. They are tired. They are ready to just get rid of all that and move on. And I keep telling them, I'd rather see that money in your paycheck and in your bank account, right?
yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And actually, just to go to the next issue right here, um, the thing is that I've always been a supporter of the trans community. I feel like, they face a lot of discrimination. But the thing is that instead of talking about right the job discrimination that they face or the working discrimination, instead they have it about bathrooms and stuff like that. And to tell you the truth, I do agree that the just the way the medical industry tried to make money off of turning people with the opiate drug crisis, where they killed people, they're trying to perform unneeded medical procedures on children. And
oh,
just so you know, not only that, but the rate of suicides goes dramatically up once they
oh
have
yeah.
the procedure. So I'm not
Listen,
saying, right, yeah,
and
it's
that's
not
even with
about that.
adults.
If they
That
cared about
that's
those people, which I'm sorry what they go through, right? But the thing is that after they have these procedures that they're trying to, it's the medical industry that wants to make money off of them, right?
at
By
anybody
selling them
else's
a,
expense. Yeah.
yeah. And it's really, once again, you don't hear from the actual trans people that have been victims. There's a lot of people who detransition and
Yep.
talked about about their horrible experiences. I'm not saying that maybe there's some people who've had a good experience, but the people are not listened to in order to feed an industry that is really trying,
Yeah.
and now they're trying to put it on children. We should wait till they're adults before we
It's
make that decision.
insane. You can't, it's
Yeah,
not like a kid can go out there and buy a 6 pack of beer, right? You're in third grade. You decide to go
yeah.
buy a 6 pack of beer. Ain't happening,
They're just cutting with
And
body
now,
parts.
yeah. And anybody involved in that to me is committing some of the most vile crimes against humanity that can be done. Now, here's the thing.
Yeah,
You want to be trans? I don't care. Be trans. You want purple hair? Knock yourself out. You want to put a bunch of hardware in your face so that if you ran by a big strong magnet, it might not
yeah.
be a good thing? Knock yourself out.
So
This is
just to
America.
understand, just to get to my
Okay?
question, right? The question is, the thing is that we know the trans people based discrimination. I'm sorry to see that. What will you do to make sure that whether you agree with their lifestyle or not, right? What will you do to ensure these communities bear access to government services?
Well, here's the thing. When you go apply for a job, right? Okay, you
Right,
present yourself a certain way to get the job that you want, right?
right, right. As if they're asking
You
the government something,
accommodate
right? Okay, yeah.
you accommodate the company, you accommodate the corporation,
Hmm.
okay? That's what you do. That is what we all do. Straight, gay, doesn't matter. And the idea that any group, whether it's gay or trans or whatever, that everybody else has to somehow do a special accommodation for your sexual whatever. Okay, wait a minute. No, I don't ever remember in high school or junior high being taught how to be a heterosexual. Okay, I was not
Right.
indoctrinated to be a heterosexual. That was my choice, just through who I was. Now,
Yeah.
were there gay kids around me? Yes, there were. I was so naive, I didn't even realize it. I
Right.
just thought, hey, live and let live, right? That was me.
Yeah.
Uh, Make friends of everybody. Whoever dies with the most friends wins. But at the same time, as soon as you're imposing on somebody else's liberty or somebody else's freedom, you cross the line that I will not support. And when that's like going and taking little kids to a drag show at the library, no, that's a
Right.
violation of parental rights. Okay, not to mention an imposition on these child's undeveloped rights and freedoms and liberties. Okay,
Okay.
again, we're back to people crossing a line that is not for them to cross. Now there are
Okay.
parents, I know there are parents out there that are exposing their own kids to these things, especially in Hollywood. It's insane how everybody now has a trans kid. It's like the in thing to have. I mean, come on, go get a poodle, go get a little lapdog, something. Not Don't pick a kid and mess them up. Not to mention the fact, as you said, the suicide rates for people that go through all this is extremely high. And me personally, I have not witnessed any type of discrimination against trans or gay or anything like that in my entire life. Okay. Even when I worked in the oil field,
Okay.
there's gay people there too, by the way. Okay. They work good. They know what they're doing. They don't impose on anybody. We don't impose on them. We all respect each other. We move forward. That's it. Okay.
Okay.
There's no recruitment going on. Okay.
Right.
And that to me is where the line gets crossed, is recruitment. And the other thing is, if you have to try to recruit other people to become like you, to make you feel better about yourself, well, guess what? No, ain't happening. You just crossed the line. Whack.
I
um
appreciate that. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's
Um.
fair. It's fair. And I here in America, they always talk about, well, we need to protect trans rights. No, you have the same rights I do. That's it. And by the way, have I been discriminated against because I'm a man or a Republican or a conservative? You dang right I have. Okay. I know what it feels like. I got a last name Romero. I'm a Cajun from Louisiana. So I'm French and Spanish. I've been discriminated against by Hispanic people and white people in that regard. They make assumptions, you know, and so now I make fun of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And my thing is this: anytime I'm hiring somebody, I want somebody that I can rely on, that will do the job and really make me look good. That's their job if I hire
Yeah.
someone. Right? Now, if all of a sudden you're spouting off and saying some things online that you shouldn't do, hey, I'm all for freedom of speech, fully support that, but
Yeah.
understand you could pay for it too. That includes me. I mean, you think the Chinese Communist Party is going to be real happy about everything I've said on here? Heck no. They're going to realize that I'm a problem and they're going to have to come hunt me down. And if they do, they pick the wrong guy. Okay.
That's
I
good. We
got
need that. Yeah.
I got friends and I'm willing to fight this fight. So again, we're back to here in Oregon with all the other gubernatorial candidates. To be honest, we have two gals that are squishy, gelatinous, spineless, and aren't even going to be able to handle what's coming down the pike. Okay, I
Right.
know it's coming. I'm going to be able to handle this and deal with it. I have people I'm going to be pulling into this mess to help me get through it. And then we have a bunch of men that are entering this race, and a lot of these guys, they've not really done anything. They're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, see if it might stick. And to me, that's kind of rude. But everybody has to start somewhere, right? So
Yeah.
I'll salute them, but I'll also warn them, because when I'm in there debating them on stage, I'm going to tell them, guys, I'm going to chew you up, spit you out on the ground, and it's nothing personal. It's just I'm going to point out where you're short and I'm way long. Okay.
Okay.
And when it comes down, when rubber meets the road, there's going to be somebody that's going to show up and get things done, and then there's going to be everybody else. Now,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that any one of those people that are also running against me don't have something that could contribute to the governorship, right? Because
Yeah.
I've read a lot of these things these guys talk about, and I got to admit, I know where I'm at, and when I see someone else talking about my stuff, I'm like, okay, this guy gets it. He understands. That's good. I might be able to use that later on.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I'm just dealing with politicians. And with politicians, I'm just like, come on, let's go. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Ready. Every debate I did against Republican candidates, the last time I ran for governor, I won the straw polls over with 80% or better at the end of those debates. Okay. I had it hands down, but I did not have the support of the Republican Party, the leadership.
The leadership, yeah, not the Republicans, but the leadership of the parties. Once again, they're doing this
Right.
everywhere in all the areas. They
Now,
get a little too comfortable sometimes, and
here's somebody else you should
I
look up.
understand. Yeah,
You should
go
look
ahead.
up this guy, Solomon Yu,
Okay,
Chinese immigrant
okay,
that, as far as I'm concerned, is still connected to the Chinese Communist Party. Okay. And this guy was our national committeeman to the RNC from Oregon. Yeah. We
yeah.
finally got him out of there, and I got a whole
Also,
dossier of him.
I actually looked up the Office of DNI, right? Tulsi Gabbard's
Yep.
new thing, and I actually emailed them about what's going on here in New York, asking them to look into it and to actually publish a list of Chinese organizations and
Oh,
individuals that
gosh.
are related to the CCP, so that we can know, right? That organization just said earlier, if they put that out, then we could actually maybe get some progress in terms of shutting that type of thing down. And I'm still waiting to hear back. So I'll
Well,
maybe we can work together to try to get this thing addressed.
the thing is, it has to be addressed in every state, because here in Oregon, for
Yeah,
example, what we're noticing is that there's Chinese couples and people, and I'm not against Chinese. I've met some great ones, like anybody else.
I
But there
understand.
are certain groups that are like infiltrating all the churches and all these different organizations and stuff. So they're popping up here, there, and this. Like, that's kind of an odd duck. What are they doing here? And this is Oregon. So if a serious foreign national shows up, it's like a turd in the punch bowl. It's like so obvious and so like, is that right? What's going on there? Something else is weird.
Also, a lot of people talk about the Holocaust. I'm not saying the Holocaust isn't horrible, but if you take a look at the number one killing in the world history, it's the CCP killing Chinese people.
Oh,
So a lot
oh
of Chinese people are victims of
yes.
that oppression.
Well,
Yeah,
see, and that's why when I look at these countries, when we're talking about it, it's like, do I not like the Russian people for their attack
yeah.
on Ukraine? No, it's the Russian
The
leadership.
leadership. It's the
Okay.
leadership. Yeah,
China, same issue. The leadership. There's Chinese people. I mean, there's so much history, so many cool things in China. I want to go see them. I want to go
yeah,
visit. I want to go hang out. I want to have some local cuisine. And yet, because of the leadership and because of what I used to do for the Navy, I can't go to China. I can't go to Russia. I can't go
yeah.
to North Korea. Okay, fine. I'll deal with that. Maybe one day in my lifetime that will change. But still,
Yeah.
it's like I, I like people. I
We
genuinely
also have to
like people.
protect Chinese Americans who came here, and we know that the Chinese are setting up like police stations and to harass
And I
people
have to
that have
wonder how many of them are
yeah,
being what's the word? Are basically being kind of pulled into helping them with whatever it is they want done.
they
Okay.
are. That's
Yeah.
exactly what's going on. They're
And
being threatened. Their
so
families at home are being threatened to actually engage in, illegal activities, and
yes,
this is not cool. Yeah,
and they do this out of fear, right?
yeah,
And so my thing is like, okay, we need to make sure the message goes out to those people. Say, listen, make some American friends here, make some white redneck friends. How about that? That actually have
yeah,
guns, and go out to the shooting range with them and learn how to do that stuff. Learn to not be afraid. Learn to not be fearful. And I love that. I think in the Bible it says do not fear like 365 times in the Bible. Do not
yeah,
fear. One of the biggest failures we have as a human race is to be afraid.
yeah.
Be bold. step up, stand up, draw a line in the sand. And if you got to draw that line behind your opposition, so be it. But
Yeah.
don't be afraid to stand up for what's right. And
What actually talking about that, I do want to ask about the next question.
sure.
Another group that I work with are the wrongfully incarcerated. And just so I know it's going to sound like a defensive. I know Republicans are always under attack. So being a
Okay.
Republican myself, I do commiserate with if I'm doing a little bit defensive of the Republicans here, that's just why it is. But just so you know, the first man freed on DNA evidence in early Pennsylvania history named Vincent Moto actually spent the last mayoral election, right, working to help promote a Republican candidate, right?
Hmm.
Because and one thing that I'd like to say is that in Texas, right, even though they do have a large amount of death penalty going on, right, they will kill you and stuff like that. They also have the largest exoneration rate. So when they
Ah,
screw
yeah.
up, they'll admit it, and not only that, they also have the best compensation package. I think it's $50,000 per year of wrongful incarceration if you can prove that you're wrongfully incarcerated. And once again,
So this is that.
I think Democrat-controlled state, he has not received any compensation for his wrongful incarceration, even though he's been proved to be innocent.
Wow.
Would you
So in
support?
other
Would you
words,
support? Yeah. Would you support
here's a
compensation for the
system.
wrongfully incarcerated?
This is
I'm
a
sorry. Go ahead.
perfect example of a system that actually works. It is
Yeah.
fair, or at least more fair, I should say.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, again, go take what works and apply it rigorously, right? You,
Yeah.
you, you got to do it. And unfortunately, what I'm learning a lot of politicians is whenever they screw up or do something wrong, they are the last person that will ever admit it. They will
Yeah.
ride that horse to the grave.
Yeah.
They don't want to ever be wrong. And my thing is like, listen, I may make some mistakes in the future for being the governor and all. That may happen. I'm gonna do my
Yeah.
best to not make those mistakes, but I can be open-minded enough to treat people fairly and definitely equally. Now, if you're a criminal, you've committed a real crime, well, you're gonna do the time. And I also know criminals that don't do the time, right? Also, a lot of politician criminals that don't do the time, and I want to see them go to that federal, real rough prison, not the country club prison, right? Okay, I think that's fair. Okay, but no, you're absolutely right. I know that there's been these issues, and also we're dealing with judges now, we're finding this out very, very readily that they are willing to bend all kinds of rules to put somebody in jail. They make money.
Actually,
They
the
make
thing
money
is
off.
that that's one of the reasons why I'm on county committee because county committee and state committee of the states a lot of times are responsible for selecting the judges who go onto the ballot. So a lot of times, also the state committee and the county committees are also in charge of deciding which ballot machines get selected to run for the election and things like that. If you're a precinct captain, that maybe there's different terminologies used in different states. It may be something similar to that. But are you involved in any way in the selection of the judges with your work in the Republican Party?
Not currently, no. I mean, right now the
Okay.
state of Oregon is run by Democrats for a long time, and
Okay.
the Democrat legislature, which I'm confident that our elections are rigged to a certain degree.
Yes.
They can claim against it, but I'm confident it's the truth because the Democrats keep controlling it. They let certain Republicans win to make it just kind of close enough. But the Democrats always get together. They decide what they're going to do in a meeting, and then they bring the Republicans in and basically just tell everybody what they're going to do. That's it. And it's just totally, this is like a socialist communist type of regime here in Oregon. It really is.
It really is. It really
And
is.
and the thing
Especially that, yeah.
I'm warning Kotek and those people is this. I fought for this country.
Yeah.
I swore an oath to defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And if they
Yeah.
continue to do this stuff, well, there's a whole lot of people that are itching to step up and go deal with it. We understand how our Constitution and what it says about if we have a problem with our government legitimately, we have a way to deal with it. And I don't want it to come to that. No. There'd be too many people get hurt. But the simple fact is, here in Oregon, they've been cheating and gaming the system. Matter of fact, I'm confident that the mail-in ballot system, it was
Yeah.
started here. This is where they started the whole program. And based on its success is its implementation everywhere else. Okay. So I pray to God that Trump and the DOJ, they force all federal elections had to be paper ballots, no mail-in.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope that they make sure it's one voting day, That's it. Okay. That has to happen, at least for federal elections. Here in Oregon, here's what's going to happen. That's going to happen for federal elections, which will greatly help. And we'll get rid of the two idiot senators that we currently have. Um, and so what'll happen then is that the state's going to try to find some way to fund both. They're responsible for both. So they will try to fund the paper ballot and the mail-in ballot for the state elections. That's what they're going to
Yeah.
try to do. Well, um, if the way the taxes are going and the population that's left the state of Oregon, all those taxes have gone, well, they're really going to come way short. And that's what I'm hoping happens. And it forces them into the full ballot, paper ballot.
We have a discussion of we have different discussion panels coming up on different topics,
Mm-hmm.
and I think one of the best ones for this particular group of candidates like yourself to get involved in is the one coming up on election rules, on electoral process and election reform, like
Okay.
getting candidates like yourself access to the debate stage, like
Mm.
confronting. Just so you know, here in New York State, there's something called publicly funded elections, and
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but it's actually weaponized against the poor. So what's crazy is, and it's
Well,
weaponized to help the establishment candidates. So the thing is that for every $1 they raise, they get $8 back. But if you're running for mayor, you got to get $250,000 in donations to just qualify. So if
right.
you're kind of like a non-establishment candidate and not
Yeah.
getting big donations,
And
you're going to
where's
get shut out while the establishment candidates get on sit on the money multiplication machine. I'm
right.
sorry, go ahead.
And it's like, where is that rule in the Constitution? Show me.
Yeah.
Right.
And then what happens is the unfair thing, and then what happens is communism, exactly like you said, where the government and their cronies are picking the winners and losers. It's not
Yeah.
about actual, production or being efficient or actually doing the job. It's
Mm-hmm.
about making the right people happy, and it's very dangerous. So I
Yeah.
can see our country really falling into that. It's really,
Yeah.
look, on a theoretical basis, like I think that I can see the appeal of socialism and communism, and I get it why a lot of kids get sucked into it. And I feel like, I'm not trying to blame you kids at all, right? I understand your idealism and I love you for that, but you need to start talking to people that have actually experienced and lived through it, right? It's like, once again, try to do a civil rights movement with no black people. Go ahead. It doesn't make any sense. So how
My,
are you
my,
going to do a communism and socialism, like fight for that when you never talk to anybody who survived it?
well,
It's
like I said,
yeah,
my wife is extremely outspoken on all these things. She's interviewed all over the place. She's published things. Her phone rings off the hook because she just has such good insight, and she also has the ability to translate English into Russian or Polish or Ukrainian.
yeah,
She can do all that, and what she found was that a lot of information from the U.S. was being mistranslated on purpose to the European worlds that didn't speak English. And so she's been fixing this, and finally people realize that she's the only one that's been telling them the truth from the moment it started. And
yeah.
so now they're piling in, getting information for her insights. She's very clever with her repartee in regards to Zelensky and Putin and all that. Excuse me. You know, we can't forget history. I mean, I hated history as a kid. Okay. But the
Right.
simple fact about history is this: we learn it in order to prevent us from repeating it. And here in America, we're literally repeating a socialism communism coup from the inside. And we have people, actual Americans, that are willingly participating because they think they're going to be on the top. And I got news for them: they're going to be the first people that the communists take out. Okay, because they don't want you. That they're going to use you to get them to the top,
This is
and
this
then
is
you're done.
already happening now because the thing is
Yes.
that if you look at the anti-war movement, right? All these kids out there stopping the traffic and all that, it
Mm.
seems like a good thing. It seems like they want to help people, and I get it, right? They're trying to stop the genocide, but the fact of the matter is there's no war victims. There's no Koreans, there's no Ukrainians, there's no Palestinians, no Israelis getting to speak. It's all these celebrities,
Everybody
right?
else.
Look at what this celebrity's saying and what that celebrity, the people that are actually affected by it are silenced. So just the way that the communist leaders right now are getting rid of the actual victims of war from the activism and stuff,
Yeah.
That's going to be exactly what happens. So I just need to ring that warning bell. And actually, even though I've been running this program, the Unified Platform, for since 22, 24, 26, and this is actually, I've also had the only third-party independent candidate debates for New York City.
Mhm.
Um, Actually, socialists are now blackballing all of my events.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can see that the
Well, let me
socialist
tell you
and
something.
aligned
The
candidates do
squeaky
not
wheel,
participate. They
the
spread the
squeaky
word.
wheel gets the
Yeah.
grease. Okay.
I'm not
And
saying theoretically like they could work, but look at their actual implementation. They're so they're so power hungry, and they're stealing from the victims. They're stealing from the homeless. You can hear my work with the disability, with the wrongfully incarcerated.
yeah,
They have never helped, and this is all documented. That's why they
yeah.
can't talk to me.
Well, see, unless they see money in it for themselves, they won't help. That's how it works. Okay. And
There's people on the right like that too, but just so you know, there's less. It's worse on the left than the right. I'm dead serious. Like,
oh
I'm
yeah,
not saying it
no,
doesn't happen to the right as well, but it's
I wouldn't
worse.
argue that point at all.
Yeah.
You know, um, I think with the Democrat Party traditionally in the past, there's the Blue Dog Democrats, the JFK Democrats, and by the way, they are still out there. The voters are still there. The downside is that they're so loyal to the party, no matter who's running the show, they're supporting it. However, there's been a major shift, especially even here in Oregon. Go look up the numbers. How many Democrats are registered Republicans, independents, and
Yep.
non-affiliated voters. Non-affiliated voters is the largest voting block in the state of
Right.
Oregon. And the fact that Democrats keep winning everything, I know they're cheating these elections. I have no doubt
Yeah.
about
Absolutely.
it. So the question then becomes, how do I overcome that? Right? It's simple. I have to get all the Democrats to vote for me. Right? But am I compromising my position? No, because if you read my contract with Oregonians, it's about all the things that affect all of us and what we can do to fix them. And that helps all of us. Doesn't matter who you are. And we have a president that has done so well with the tariff stuff that we've been ripped off. This country was run and paid for, lock, stock, and barrel federally by tariffs until it got changed. And then they started taxing all of us. Well, guess what? Trump is going to end federal income tax. And here in Oregon, I'm going to end state income tax. I'm going to end state property tax. I'm going to actually award people with property allodial titles so that nobody in the future will ever be able to tax their property. Okay. And I know how we can use our resources to basically pay for what we do need and to grow the state, have the jobs we need for our graduates, and even get some training for all these people that have been kind of screwed for the last, well, since 2020, since 2000. And I understand also, like I said, is that there are not just people in the present that we have to help. There's people in the past we have to help too. Um,
Okay.
it can be done. I know it can be done. And what bothers me the most is how closed-minded and how narrow-minded, two-dimensional most of these people that get into office really are. They are not analysts, okay? They are not planners. They pretend, they spend money, they throw the fluff, and it kills me whenever I see somebody on Facebook go, well, I think I'm going to vote for this person. They sound really smart. I'm like, oh God, okay.
Well,
Why is it you think?
I understand those candidates too to an extent because the thing is that a lot of them are newbies. Like you said, we all got to start somewhere, and they have no idea what they're doing. But you've run several times before. You've been around
Yeah,
this. You're a little bit more experienced.
but
You
I'm
know
I'm
how to do
actually
this, but they're doing it for the first time. They have no
but
idea
I'm,
what's
I'm
going
not
on.
talking about them. Oh, no, no.
Yeah,
Matter of fact, I have given advice to new candidates. I've told
yeah,
them, okay, here's where you need to go to do this. Here's where you need to go to do this because no one told me, right?
right,
But I've shared information with
exactly.
them, okay?
Yeah,
Because hey, if they're a good candidate, if there's somebody better than me, I'll vote for them. Okay, no problem. Now, with the candidates I'm talking about Drazen, Christine Drazen. Okay, that
oh
is
yeah, the
not going to be a
establishment.
fix for Oregon. She's
Yeah,
establishment, and I'm talking about Rhino element establishment. Okay,
yeah,
this is the woman that voted in favor of tampons in the boys' bathroom, and I've seen them even in grade school, the boys' bathrooms. Insanity. She voted in favor of boys in girls' sports and bathrooms. No, you draw the line somewhere. If I have to have every bathroom where it's just a single bathroom and a locked door, and whether it's male or female, whoever goes in there first, fine, we'll do that. But the idea that you're going to cross the line for freedom and liberty in regard to any sex, okay? No, cannot do that. That's where you got to draw the line. And I mean, even at schools, certain schools where I'm at, well, I have to use a staff bathroom. I can't even use the boys' bathroom necessarily. That's sometimes a rule.
Yeah.
But I respect it, right?
Right.
People need to respect the boundaries of other people. There's nothing wrong with it. And generally, when you do that, it does not infringe on you. And for the trans element that's put, I have good friends right down the street from me. They're a gay couple. They've been together forever. Man,
Yeah.
one's kind of knocking on death's door, and he's had a long run. He's had a damn good run, to be honest. Great artist, great photographer. And they aren't happy with the LGBTQ whatever. Okay, they don't support that in any way, shape, or form because they see it as an infringement on other people's liberties and freedoms. Anytime you're forcing something on somebody else, no, you cross the line. They understand that. They can't respect it. They don't support it. And for me, it's like I said, it doesn't matter if I want to know if you're a good, decent human being. I want to know if I can have a good barbecue with you, or you can make a good steak, right? This is the neighborly, important stuff that we need to focus on, not the intricacies of who we choose to love or not love. And whatever
The
your
thing is that
fetish,
the trans community is very small. But the fact of the matter, the reason why this is becoming to the forefront is not because of the trans community, it's because the medical community that's making money off of doing
oh,
these
well,
transitions is really pushing this message. It's
there,
not really
there,
so the thing is that yeah,
there's a
that's why you
movie.
never heard about them before. There's just a new class of people that see that they can make money hand over fist, and they're here just right. They're the same people that are pushing the opiate
Yeah.
crisis. It's the
Oh,
same money making element.
those people are criminals. And my thing to
Yeah.
the trans community is, why would you deal with a criminal? I mean, can you
They're
trust a
being
criminal?
marketed. They're being marketed in the name of this happens to all the minority groups. It happens
Yeah.
also to it happens to everybody. To tell you the truth, they try to sell us their smoke and mirrors dance.
They act like your friend. The simple
Yeah,
truth is, no, they are not. Okay.
yeah,
Go
exactly.
talk to the big pharma and all that stuff, right? They are not
Yeah,
your friend. And we are figuring that out. All of us, by the way. It is not limited to straight people or women or men or blacks or anybody else. It's everybody. And until we all realize, listen, we're all really on the same humanity team. And I'm really talking about worldwide. I would love world peace. Do I want a new world order? No. What I want is world peace. I want people to get along. I want cultures to be different. I want to be able to go to another country and experience that. I lived in Turkey for 2 years. I loved it. The food was great. The people were friendly as all get out. And they would talk politics or they'd talk about anything. And the thing I loved about Turkey was that they compared their Ataturk, the father of their country, to our George Washington. And with every yard of concrete they pour, they're basically just following in our footsteps, is how they saw it. Now, there's been a change there, not a very good one. Islam has a bad habit of messing things up. And here in this country, it is not, it is not, it doesn't mesh with Western civilization. Just does not. If you're going to have your religion, fine. But the moment it imposes on anybody else, that's where you failed, you know? And whether it's Christianity, Catholicism, Buddhism,
okay.
I don't care. The moment you're actually invading or encroaching on other liberty and freedom of other people that are not part of your group, that's where you fail.
Yeah.
And that's what we cannot tolerate in any capacity. And if we do it that way, it's fair to everybody.
I think there are some Muslims that can actually get just Western society, but there are some that can't. And I think that sometimes there's a desire from people to defend the good guy or they put as a good guy, but just remember that all communities have problem individuals. So
Oh,
just
that's
because
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, once someone hears that it's someone's criticizing Muslim, they may feel a certain way, but just so you know, no community is perfect, and they
Oh
need to
no,
have some type of review and some type of accountability.
yes.
So yeah,
and
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 this is true.
and
Yeah,
that can get really complicated.
yeah,
And I wish there was a simple answer. I really do.
yeah,
If I had it, I'd throw it to everybody. But what I realize is that I have to just navigate it how I would navigate it. And if I got to make a joke out of something to lighten the mood, so be it. If I have to go drink some Rocky, that licorice with stuff with water that turns into like milk. You ever see that? They,
Well, yeah, you mix it like
they,
so it becomes
it goes
starts
from
mixing something in
clear
your drink, right? Something in
to
your water.
like a
Yeah.
weak milk looking, right? And
Okay.
it's called in Turkey. It's called raki, and the Muslims say they don't drink alcohol. They drink alcohol. And if you ever drank raki, be careful because when they give it to you, it comes in the glass, and you're supposed to pour it into another glass, and then the other one's supposed to pour water in with it, and it kind of turns. It's still powerful, right?
Okay.
Well, I ended up drinking the whole clear glass one time.
Whoops. Okay.
Oh man, that was yeah, I had a hard time walking out of there, but they were impressed that I actually got up and walked out when I had to leave. They were like, "Oh, he's actually just drinking that stuff straight."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was done for that day. But you know, there's just so many great things out there, and I really look forward to the future. I appreciate visionaries of our future, and it's like when I talk to these kids, I want them excited about the future. I don't want them depressed and thinking, "Oh, we suck as a generation. We're never going to do it." No, no. I said anybody who tells you you can't do something, it's not because you can't do it. It's because they can't. So don't listen to those people. You know, the potential
Yeah.
is yours. Here's your max potential. I want you to achieve this, and don't let nobody bring that down. Don't.
Actually, I'm talking about more before we talk about like enemies foreign domestic. I don't know if this
Yeah.
is enemies status, but there's also another issue that I do support, which is called something called right to repair. You can see that a lot of I don't know if you've ever heard of that particular thing, but okay, so nowadays what like if there's something happens to your car, you
Okay.
can take it to like any car shop, right? Can actually change your oil. You don't have to go to specifically whoever manufactured your car to go and get that service.
Okay.
Um, and this was actually done by law because before, right, when the car companies first came out, they started saying, you know what, only we can service your vehicle, stuff like that. But they said
Yeah.
once
Okay.
you buy your vehicle, you own it. So
Yeah.
now a lot of companies try to move things towards subscription model, try to move things towards a more of a right, you'll never get to own anything, right, and you'll be happy about it. This type of idea. And now,
Well, they
after
could.
this thing in the military actually had to fight for the right to repair their devices because the thing is that they were charging exorbitant repair contracts for the military and they had to shut that down. So I think that there is some like anti-consumer stuff going on. But that's just me, right? If you don't know about right to repair, I would could tell you more about
No,
that
actually, I
later.
do know what you're talking about,
Okay,
and
cool.
I remember when it was first being discussed, actually. And to me, very simply, I'm a mechanic. I work on my own vehicles. Okay,
Yeah,
if I could rebuild an engine, not a problem. Need to rebuild the carburetor, not a problem. Need to swap out a transmission, replace
yeah,
a clutch, not a problem.
yeah.
And with the newer stuff, there's just more things you can break electronically. So you got to,
True.
but you can learn these things. You still can learn these
Yeah,
things. Um, but you're right. The idea that it would say violate your warranty, my thing is simply this. We just bought a brand new Toyota, okay, Corolla LE, right?
okay,
2025. And they offered a package for my oil changes for the next, like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 10 years.
oh
And
cool,
it was
yeah,
a good deal. Okay.
right,
So I paid in advance for it because it was a really good deal and it will save me money in the long run. So I just made an
yeah,
investment to get that covered. And anything that happens while it's under warranty, where am I going to take it? Right back to the
yeah,
dealership. They're under
okay,
obligation to take care of it. Now, after that warranty is done, then it's up to me. Now, if I go pay for somebody else for a special warranty, that's my prerogative. If I'm going to be the mechanic, that's my prerogative. And so far, there's nothing that interferes with any of this. This all works in my
right,
favor, you know.
okay.
But I understand how a lot of people have vehicles that, well, a breakdown could break a family. One bad event in any family could literally make people homeless.
A lot of
That's how
farmers are
bad it
complaining
is.
about the tractors. They're saying that John Deere is actually forcing them to wait for their official repair person to come in when before the tractor would break down, the farmer could just fix it themselves. But
Uh,
they sometimes they have to wait months for a repair guy to come out, and
And
then their
see,
crops all go bad, and they
that should be
don't.
an automatic disqualifier for John Deere,
Right.
and they have to keep honoring the warranty. And that equipment isn't cheap. They could make it keep the cost more affordable, but they don't. All right, and I understand how that works. Um, so again, we're back to making sure people are making enough money to be able to have the life they want, be able to afford to live where they want, make sure
Yep.
property is affordable and not artificially inflated like here in Oregon. And right
Yep.
now, there's over 800,000 people that moved to Oregon, right? And we got an extra seat in the House of Representatives. Those people have all left. Okay. So that tax base is now gone. Now, if the truth is that all property values in Oregon should be dropping like a rock, just like they are in Portland, but they artificially inflate them and hold them up. So again, they're creating the problem and they're not smart enough to realize that they're literally stepping on their own crank. Um,
Yep.
and and we have a governor right now. She's looking to double our payroll taxes and everything else, not even thinking twice. And she's running for reelection. She must think the fix is in, right?
Those
Because
people
that's
who are, yeah, those people who are gonna get those pensions and stuff, they're more likely to vote than regular people, and that's
and the
the
thing
political
is,
machine that keeps
those
the
people with
Democrats
all
in power.
this, the people with the pensions, people that are the state workers, their families can't all work for the state, and a lot of them
Yep.
leave. And a lot of Oregonians are really kind of they want to stay here. We love Oregon, you know, and
Yep.
so with the state and what they've done, what the Democrats have done, they've created such a toxic environment for business of any kind. Intel has left. Wells Fargo just shut down another 400 jobs. You know, it's just getting worse and worse. And the Democrats are acting like, oh no, it's like a. Have you ever seen oh come on, Animal House? Do you remember Kevin Bacon at the end? Everybody remain calm. All is well. It's burning down around him. And it's like, here's the Democrats in
Yeah.
Oregon. No, everything's fine. It's okay, people.
Yeah.
It kills me.
Not. Yeah.
Um, but this is what we're dealing with, and the politicians, as usual, that are running. And I can't really include the new guys. They really don't qualify for that title. But Drazen, Bethel, yeah, they qualify for that. And to be quite frank, they're just one and the same. You know, if I was something else I want to share with you about this. This is kind of important.
Okay.
Christine Drazen, they got her in the position of representative again. She didn't have to go through an election. She got assigned to somebody else that retired or left. They did that, but if you're running for governor and you're a representative, you have to resign your position in order to run for governor. However, if you're a state senator, you don't. So what do? They wait for her to announce. Daniel Bethel announces. I think that was kind of a shot across the bow to see what the competition might be. And Drazen gets assigned to be in this senator's position who's resigning or retiring. Okay. So now she's a senator in Oregon. She doesn't have to resign her senator's seat and run for governor. Okay. This is a full on elite establishment strategy to keep her gainfully employed while she's running for office. Okay.
You know, actually,
I
yeah, go ahead.
I had a job working for the VA. Okay.
Okay.
And when I ran for governor, I had to resign from my position at the VA as a medical support assistant. Okay. All because I fell under the executive branch. That's it. And it's
Exactly.
like, what influence was I going to have within the VA? I can't talk about that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So it just
Let,
seems really lopsided.
let me see if I can show you something right quick. Let me
Sure.
just go to my site and bring this up for you. Okay, so I'm going to actually share my screen right here. Share screen. Okay, tab. Okay. Okay, you could see that website right there, right? This is actually my
Yes.
website. If I go down and I scroll here to the Precision's website, and then I scroll to the right, I think I'm over here, and I go to the Actors Network directory, you can see over here these election tools. So
Okay.
if I click on the election atlas over here, you could see it comes up with a map, and then you could see that when I zoom into the map right here, you
Wow.
could see it shows me, right, yeah, like how different districts down to the block level, right, how they voted in the last election. And I can also get data from previous years, right? And I also, so right, I can see how things for the 24 election, 21 election, right? So the thing is that I can see, right, like was that district like 85% Democrat or was it 55% Democrat? If you're going to go hit a district And if your consultant wants to set you up, he can send all your workers to the 85% Democrat district, which you're going to lose anyways, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Instead of the 55% district, which you have a chance of flipping.
Yeah.
So, just so you know, being a county committee person, I'm in charge of a small district like this, where I have the list of all the voters that have voted in the previous elections and how many times they voted,
Yeah.
so I can be very efficient. And they all know me personally when it's time to petition or, canvass for candidates. I'm hitting the same 6 block radius. It's probably larger in Oregon, but this is something called county committee. And
Yeah.
this is actually we have also have something called district leaders, and having the cooperation of people like that are actually have divided up the electoral map like this is very critical. And I have an interview on my channel with the Libertarians who
Hmm.
actually won over 200 elected seats in where is it in Pennsylvania, right? A
Wow.
key swing state. Yeah. So these things may be a path for you to win, right? This data should be available in your area, and you can still have time to go literally door to door to people within. Well, you're running for governor, so you're running the whole state,
Right.
but you might be able to get together with
But
other candidates that are
we
running
have like
for
what?
smaller positions.
Let's put
Yeah.
it this way: if I can pull in, I think it's like 700,000 votes, I win. You know,
Okay.
so it's a much smaller scale than New York, um, just because the population is greatly diminished. But I right now I'm using Nucleus. Are you familiar with Nucleus?
No, not yet. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Uh,
one of like
Brad
a management electoral
Parscale.
program.
It's a
Okay.
company
Cool.
built by Brad Parscale, and I've used that. I even got a national and statewide press releases done through there. So they go out to all these
Okay.
places, and so that helps get that a little bit because I'm running a pretty shoestring campaign. Because one of the things, and this is something else you need to know, the We the People Party, a big part of it is all about minimizing the overall cost for any candidate to run for office. And
Okay.
so for them, for example, if there's anybody that's actually registered for their party to vote, they can put up any candidate they want, and they put the profile there, and then their people come online and they rate you 1 to 5 stars, and then whoever has the most stars gets submitted as their candidate, a choice for the general election.
Oh, cool.
Okay,
Okay.
and that greatly minimizes the cost for anybody if you're a decent candidate. And I found that basically where I stand on pretty much every issue is exactly where they stand. Well, they stand on the Constitution. That's where they're about. And like you said, I have a pretty good understanding that there's always two sides to the fight, and you got to
Yeah.
understand both in order to actually come up with a solution. That's part of also my military training. You can't go in and just know one side and think you're going to come out with a good answer. This doesn't work.
Yeah.
you know, you have to be one arrogant SOB to do that.
That's
So,
where a lot of kids from school have the problem, right? Because they've only learned one method, and that to them is everything.
but see,
And
that's
they don't
what
have time.
communism, socialism wants. They only want you to get one side of the equation, not the other side. So
Yeah.
when I get a chance to talk to high schoolers and what have you, even first graders, is that, guys, there's so much out there. There's so many awesome people, places, things to go see and do. You're here in whatever town, Oregon. The fact is, there's a whole world out there, and I hope you get to experience it. But I want everybody to experience it. And it's like I met a guy from Fiji recently, and I never thought I'd meet somebody from Fiji. Why? I want to go to Fiji. I know it's on the other side of the planet, but I'm going to go out there and hang out on the beach for a while. I like to think it'd be pretty relaxing and be probably really good seafood, right?
Yeah.
Um, I just I want to see a peaceful world, but I understand that there's some bad guys that we're still going to have to bloody their lips and bust their nose, and metaphorically speaking, and do it in a way that gets them the publicity they don't want, right?
Hey, you
And
know what? It is too much at stake, so there's going to be shenanigans going on. So
oh,
we need a fighter. Yeah. Appreciate
yes,
that. Yeah.
and I'm very much that fighter. And like I said, I'm the last guy the bad guys want in office because I'm a firm believer in accountability, good, bad, or indifferent. And the other thing is, when I find out who's been stealing in the state, I am not above putting your face on a billboard and your name so everybody knows what you did. Okay, what we can prove. Okay, facts are facts. That's not slander or libel. That's just the truth. And it's amazing what happens when people are hit smack in the face with the truth, right? It's amazing what will happen. And if I got to chase all these people out of the state that way, so be it. At least then they won't be Oregonians' hassle, you know. We have a better chance of recovery. But I know, like I said, I know what my opposition really is. And China has some deep pockets for these politicians. And the last thing they want to do is lose a stronghold like Oregon.
And,
But
I also appreciate that because the news is not really talking about that issue. So that shows me that you're kind of like, and the way that you talked about the issue with the specifics and stuff shows me that you're actually right with specific names, specific organizations. A lot of people can't do that because they just repeat what they saw in the news. So they never really like dug this deep. But you're also working with you've run before. A lot of candidates that are in this process have not run before. So you do out of the candidates that I'm working with, you kind of stand out. I
Mhm.
really appreciate you being a part of this.
No, I just
How can
appreciate
my
the conversation, you
Yeah.
know?
How can my people find your information about your
Yeah,
you
the
have a website and stuff
website's
like that?
yeah, www.romero4oregon.com. That's ROMEROFOROREGON.com. On there, you might want to look up the contract with Oregonians, that tab, and check that out. Because one of my things is this: I'm tired of politicians going, hope and change, hope and change, hope and change. You can count on me. Well, what kind of hope? Hope sounds good. Well, what kind of change? Could you be more specific? You got to ask those questions. And politicians don't answer those questions. Okay. I'm not
Yeah.
really a politician. I'm more of a project manager. I have to answer those questions. So for me to go in to be governor, oh, I got a plan. I know what I'm going to do. I understand it. I'm even going to get the federal government involved in a couple projects here in Oregon that they owe us. Okay. They owe
Yeah.
us. And I'm going to make that happen. I got plans for a city of the future, not a 15-minute city, mind you, but an actual city of the future in Oregon somewhere. I'm hoping to talk to Mr. Musk about that idea because I'd like to see some of his equipment being manufactured in the area, you know, and help me chase the Chinese out. So you got to have some partnerships and you got to do what you got to do in that regard. But the thing is this, is that we have to do things that are furthering humanity. We have to do things that are furthering our people. And anytime someone's setting up an obstacle or a hurdle on fire on purpose, get those
Yeah.
people out. We don't need those people. They're creating the problems. They're not fixing anything. Um,
Right.
and then the other thing is my number is pretty readily available to anybody. 458-256-9437. And I answer my phone, which surprises people. People will call me and I'll answer and I say, yeah, this is Paul, can I help you? And they're like, is this Paul Romero? Yeah. What you need? What do you got? And they're like, well, I wasn't expecting you to answer. I love
That's
that.
good though. I appreciate that. Yeah. A
But
lot of the candidates say they're for the people and they're not reachable at all.
yeah,
And the more establishment they are and the higher they go, the more
yes,
this tends to be the truth. So
yes,
we're,
absolutely
we're
right.
for the little people, and you have people like yourself, and you're going to be better off. Appreciate that. Yeah. Now that people have your website and they have your social media, which I think is linked in your website, what do they
Yes.
have to look forward to? You got any cool events coming up? You got any fundraisers? You got any
Well, I'm about to kick off
social events?
my video blogs, and usually I set it up on Facebook, but I'll set it up also on Rumble. And basically, it's just a Q&A. It's a no holds barred. Whatever you got, whatever question you want to ask, I'm going to answer. And if I do it enough, well, I'll answer all the right questions and give good, solid answers, and that should earn you votes. My biggest thing now is just interviews here in Oregon. Rick Dancer's one I'm looking forward to here shortly, and he's very attuned to what's going on here in Oregon. So I kind of look forward to that conversation. But it's just having a real conversation. I don't need advance notice of questions. I don't need to read from a script. I don't have to do any of that stuff. And that's also how I kind of weigh and measure some of these politicians, because some of them could not have a conversation off the cuff to save their lives. And to
Yeah.
me, that pretty much convicts them right off the bat. So that's why I look forward to actual debates. One
I
of the few
appreciate
that
that.
do.
Yeah. Hopefully we can help you get to that, once again, I'm trying to put together a national coalition of candidates across the country to try to address things that prevent insurgent candidates like yourself that are taking on incumbents to, try to get fair access to debate stages and things like that. So,
Well, let's put it this way: I'm going to raise enough hell that there's going to be people calling in demanding this stuff. Because right now, anybody I talk to, anybody who knows my platform, they're like, "Where have you been?" I said, "No, you just haven't been paying attention. I'm here. I'm ready to go to battle, but I still have to get into office." And people in Oregon are now demanding a change. They realize that what they've done, vote for this person, otherwise you're going to be a homophobe, or you vote for this person. Come on, give me a break. I think we're beyond that. You know, we've had a black president. I mean, that's awesome. Maybe one day we'll get a woman president, but I just hope they're qualified. That's all I really care about. That they're really going to do something for the country, for the American citizens. Um,
yeah.
It's not too much to ask for. It really isn't. But they act like it's everything to ask for. So I'm very frustrated. But hey, you got to make sure you send me your address. I'll send you one of my poker chips.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
it's
right, cool.
my promotional thing. And on the back, it says you vote for Paul Romero for governor 2026. Project manager versus politician. Check. So
Appreciate that. Yeah.
yeah,
Very
that's
cool.
good.
All right. Thank you so
You
much.
got it.
All right.
It's a dark day in our nation when high-level authorities will seek to use every method to silence dissent. The truth must be told.
And if you want the truth, you need to check out independent media producers just like myself, DJ L7. You should subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications when I release a new video.
Truth of these
We are
words
on all
is
the major
beyond
platforms.
doubt.
That includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube. Unfortunately, we have definitely seen that these mainstream outlets will cave to corporate interests, so we encourage you to join our independently moderated communities of Reddit and Discord. We also encourage you to subscribe to us on BitChute and Daily Motion so you can see the content that YouTube doesn't want us to let you see. Hey, now it's time for the most important part of the video. That's right. It's time for us to tell you about the Taking Action Group. Do you need an activist? Or maybe there's no activists around willing to help you with your cause and you need to learn to become an activist. That's exactly why we're here. Every week we get up with people from across the nation, in fact even sometimes internationally, and we develop strategies and a game plan to address the issues that are affecting all of us. Every week myself from New York City and of course my co-host Lisa from Los Angeles provide a coast-to-coast perspective on what's going on in the country. If you want to donate to help out with expenses, travel, equipment, stuff like that, then I definitely appreciate it, and you can hit us off at Venmo or PayPal. Thanks a lot. Hey, by the way, we also have a merch store, so check it out. Oh my goodness, it seems like you've reached the end of the video, so make sure you check out some of our other videos, make sure you subscribe. This is your last chance to do so thanks a lot, and looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment below if you have any questions or issues you'd like me to address. And if you're an activist, the time to make things happen is now.